Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this. This is taking a bunch of takes because my health is like really not doing so well right now. The It's springtime and the humidity's back, and it doesn't do well with all my sinus problems and my other breathing problems. So I'm gonna soldier through this one. This is the last rant for a while. I know I shouldn't be doing one this close to uploading a video. I uploaded a cover of Journey's Stone in Love earlier this morning, so please go watch it if you can and if you want, and I would appreciate it. So I don't want these rants to overshadow what else I'm doing on the channel. So here is the last rant for a while, and it has to do with YouTube comments, YouTube commenters, and the crap they get up to on social media. I mean, it's stunning what people do on social media these days. It just stuns me. And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you how it was before all this crap started. Maybe we can reminisce together. So anyway, I was watching this one channel and they had an interview with Jim Mastia, who was Boston's original drummer. And he got snubbed just before they released the album. This guy named Jim Mastia was the original drummer for Boston, recorded the entire first Boston album and part of the second. And they just kind of dumped him off before they released the album. I don't know if he recorded the last song, kind of correcting myself here. The last song on it, which was Let Me Take You Home Tonight, was the last song on the first album, which was recorded in California by the band that they put together, the record company put together, basically. So, that's, but Jim handled the drumming on every other track and I know that for a fact. But the thing is, the commenters, see, Jim of course he's upset because he was snubbed, this guy. He was snubbed by the band. He was snubbed by maybe Tom Scholz. He was snubbed by, the fame was taken away from him, even though he put in years. He'd been drumming with Tom since 1969. So from 1969 all the way up until 1976, early 1976, when they were getting ready to release the album, he'd been Boston's drummer. And they just dumped him to form this new band. And so he's upset, and he's talking about different things, and he's saying the right things, like he's saying that drummers are the foundation of a band, which is entirely true. He's saying that drummers keep everything together. They hold everything together. And that's entirely true. Drummers are very, very important. But commenters knew better. These people, and I use that term loosely, in the comment section were all getting their knickers in a twist over what he said. They started judging him because, their head's so far up Tom Scholz's ass that they can see what he's eating for breakfast every morning. And it's ridiculous. I'm a big Boston fan, and I've been a Boston fan since 1976. But I don't worship people, okay? I don't worship musicians. I've worked with these people. I've worked with rock stars. I've worked with celebrities. They're just regular human beings like the rest of all of us. There's nothing to be worshipped there. And so if somebody's going to be lying about something, then yeah, they're going to be lying about something. These people aren't gods. They're just people. And they are fallible. They have flaws. And they will lie about things here and there. It's a possibility. But these other people that are, they get the fan mentality going, where they think that, every word that this person says is law. And it's not. It really isn't. You have to look at everything with a certain amount of skepticism. And you definitely have to scrutinize it. And if you weren't there, then you don't know. So all these commenters in the video's comment section, in the YouTube comment section, were all putting down Jim Mastia, but they don't know what happened back then. All I know is he was dumped before they released the album. That's what I know. And that's all anybody really knows, because nobody's really talked about it. I mean, Jim was dumped, and he's upset about it. No, he's got every right to be. And yet, people are sitting there acting like they know everything about him. And they're judging him on that. They weren't there. And I told them as much. I said, hey, you weren't there. How do you know what happened? And of course, I got no responses, because people don't consider it worthy enough as a response. Why? Because most people that are commenting in YouTube comment sections, which are nasty to other people, most people who act nasty to other people in YouTube comment sections or on anywhere on social media are what's called narcissists. Now, it's the nature of the beast with YouTube comments. People are frustrated about their lives, or they're frustrated about one thing or another, and they're going to take it out on strangers, perfect strangers on social media. It happens all the time. It is what it is. The comedian Bill Burr spoke some serious truth about social media. And he said, why should I bother going into the comment section and talking to people? Those people, only like maybe 10 to 13% of them are actually decent people. The rest of people online and social media are animals. You should see the evil things they say to each other. The horrible things that come out of their brains and end up in the comment section. And he's right. He's right. And it's pretty sad. And there are reasons behind it, and I'll go into that. But there are a lot of angry people that are angry over their lives, and there are fidiots, as I call them, which are basically fucking idiots. And the guitarded, which are my favorite brand of fidiots, because they think they know everything about guitars, and they blab about stuff they don't understand, and they talk about magical stuff that doesn't exist, where guitars are concerned. And I've had enough dealings with them, and anybody who's a regular to this channel here all knows that full well. And then you've got these sycophants, which are brown nosers to the channel owners. I mean, they think the channel owners are gods. They think that they can do no wrong, and they never do anything wrong, and they're perfect, and the whole 9 yards. No, we channel owners are not perfect. We're not. Nobody's perfect. And but even when, the thing that gets me is when these channel owners, there was another video I watched today where a guy was reviewing an Rant guitar, and somebody dared be critical of the way he was acting toward the guitar, because he was kind of scoffing it. Of course, the guy's a hardcore Squire Fender guy, and so he's gonna take a crap on anything that's not Squire or Fender. No, Rob, I'm not talking about you. Rob doesn't do that. Rob Clark, good dude. So this guy was crapping all over the Rant guitar, and so somebody decided to take him to task over it. And along come all his little fans in his comment section, and they're defending the guy, even though the guy's acting like a total ass. He got called the B word. He got called a bitch. The guy called the channel owner a bitch. He said, you're being very bitchy, and you're being a bitch about this thing. And then all of a sudden, the channel owner's like, oh, you don't like women? It's like, that has nothing to do with it. But then all his little pals in the comment section, all his little brown noses and sycophants and enablers and flying monkeys, they all came at the guy and said, oh, you must be a misogynist, you hate women. And it was like a tornado of stupidity. I just couldn't believe it. I had made a regular constructive comment before, and I was talking about budget guitars versus expensive ones. And I figured, okay, my comment's not going to even be paid attention to, and it wasn't, so I just deleted it, and I deleted my response to the tornado of stupidity, because it's not worth it. It's just not worth it anymore to fight these people. Why? Because there's no point. They're never going to believe you. They're never going to listen to you. They're never going to see your point of view because they're narcissists. Narcissists are stuck being narcissists. No matter how much you may think that people can change, narcissists cannot. I've seen a lot of videos about narcissism, and they claim, oh yeah, they can change. They can change. No, they can't change. They're always going to be narcissists. They can change the levels of their narcissism and change the levels of their nastiness, but they're not going to change completely, and they're never going to dump it. They're never going to dump the narcissism. It's always going to be there. Now, what is a narcissist? A narcissist is a person who is completely and utterly for themselves. Themselves and themselves only. It's all about them, all day, every day, forever. As long as they live. And they only see other people as objects to manipulate, to further their own ambitions. And so they have no qualms about backstabbing this person while promoting this person, or promoting this person while backstabbing this person. You see what I mean? And so there's no real loyalty there. There are two kinds of narcissists. There's covert and overt. The overt ones are the ones that, they're out there in the public shoving their weight around and saying, basically the same stuff that narcissists do, which is, I'm better than you, you're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about, and the whole 9 yards, and they think they know what they're talking about. They just sit there and babble stuff that they have no idea about. But they do it to make themselves look bigger. They're bigger people. And if I don't know something, like the Jim Mazdia situation, I don't know what the hell happened back then. All I know is Jim was dumped. And they don't know what's going on. But yet they're going to claim, or act like they know what was going on back then. That's narcissism. To act like you're more than you really are. And it's all because secretly inside of a narcissist, they hate themselves. They really do. Narcissists hate themselves with a passion. But they won't let that show because they've got to put on this big, larger-than-life overcompensation and manipulate people and hurt other people in order to make themselves feel better. It's like a junkie with a fix. You got to do whatever you can. It doesn't matter what consequences there are or what you do to other people, how it hurts anybody. You got to get that fix. And that's the thing about narcissists. They got to be worshipped. They got to be paid attention to. They got to have people constantly brown-nosing them. If they don't have a nose up their posterior, then they fold and turn into a husk and blow away in the wind. That's all there is to it. So you have narcissist commenters, which I talked about. You have the narcissist channel owners. These people who think their shit don't stink. They think they're right about everything. And they don't think they have any flaws. And they'll sit there and crap on everything that they personally dislike. And they're flying monkeys, and they're flying monkeys do their dirty work and attack people in their comment sections for them. And they're little enablers. Our old buddy Crappers has a whole bunch of these, and he's definitely sent them against people. I've seen lots of narcissistic channel owners send their commenters after somebody else, and it's ridiculous. It's like that, and it's supposedly not allowed, but these people who do that kind of stuff are bigger YouTubers, and they're bringing in ad money for the big Google machine. So they're not going to face any consequences for that. So, and then there's the harems and the cliques. And there's different ranks amongst a narcissist followers. And, this one lady, I saw her channel, and she likened it to pots. If you have a collection of pots that you buy, like, the set of pots you buy at a store, you have a pot that you use every day. You have a pot that you only use for special occasions, and a pot that's really fancy that you never use. And that's the way narcissists handle their little harems. And they don't think of anybody more than maybe a pot. or a toaster or something like an appliance. Because when a person has outlived their usefulness to a narcissist, they're tossed away like garbage, and there's not even a second thought about it. Narcissists feel about as much emotion toward dumping people out of their lives and hurting them and backstabbing them as a normal person would to throwing out a toaster that broke, or an appliance that broke, or a bag of garbage on the curb that the truck's supposed to take away. And it's really disturbing and sick, but it is what it is. That's the way they are. And learn more about them, learn how to recognize them. How did it get this way? Now, how did it get this way? This is the reason it got this way is because things changed. We used to be a society where your hard work produced something. You know, people back in the 50s and even the 60s and even part of the 70s, you could work a regular job and still buy a house. You can't do that anymore. You could put food on your table with your regular job. And people had regular jobs because we manufactured things. We don't anymore. We don't. Our country has become a wasteland. Just look at Detroit. Just look at Pennsylvania. These places that were big, huge centers of industry they're gone. They're just ghost towns covered with graffiti. Empty husks where lives were. And it's ridiculously sad. I mean, you see all these houses up there in Detroit, the surrounding suburbs, and they're just empty. These are beautiful houses that people's dreams were built on. And they're just empty. Just sitting there. Maybe one's a crack house. Maybe there's squatters in another one, or maybe it's just empty and there's nobody in it, and it's just decomposing. And it's sad because we used to do things. We used to make things. Now we can't because of all this outsourcing and all this stuff where all these jobs went right overseas. And it got too expensive for people to buy the things made in America anymore. Because after a while, money just started to dry up and people weren't being paid enough. And so that has taken our country and very seriously weakened it. I mean, you take away people's hope and you destroy a lot of things. And most importantly, you destroy their sense. And you make them desperate. And when people get desperate, they'll do anything. Now, what we've got also compounding the problem and making it worse is we've got this woke culture that's being pushed. This woke culture, which is being pushed on campuses, it's being pushed on television, in movies, and in music. It's everywhere. Just this past, I think it was just this past month, the Oscars was held, but they made it so woke that it had the lowest ratings ever of any Oscars presentation in history. This stuff doesn't work. And it irritates most people. This small population, this small percentage of the population who are the big-time wokeists, as I call them. They're like locusts, but they're wokeists. Because they destroy everything they come in contact with. And that's the idea. The idea is to destroy things. Things like Star Trek, Star Wars, all that stuff that people have been talking about, they're being destroyed. They're being destroyed by these locusts. And it is what it is because people are allowing it to happen. Because people, they're too concentrated on trying to survive now. So we've got this weak parenting where these parents are just letting the schools who are being filled with these woke people, with these people who are pushing these specific social agendas, they're just letting them teach their kids. Just like, let the school teach the kid. And I blame my generation because my generation is really, really deep into this crap. My generation is the 50-somethings and Gen X. And we've caused a lot of this to happen because of just pure laziness and this utopian kind of idea that, if everybody's nice to each other, it's all going to be fantastic. No. There have to be consequences for things, and I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, we used to be a strong country, but we're not anymore. And people are now, they're complacent. People are living off of the credit cards. People are living off of things that they never lived off of before, which is borrowing over and over and over again. And we don't manufacture anything. It's all manufactured elsewhere. Your expensive Gibsons and your expensive guitars and amps and all that stuff, you know, all the electronics and stuff inside of them, no, they're not manufactured here. They're manufactured overseas. They're manufactured in countries like Malaysia and China. Gibson uses Chinese parts. Shock! Fender uses Chinese parts. Oh my God! You know, Fender uses green card labor, so does Gibson. Oh my God! Yeah, these are realities. And they have to be dealt with. Because that's what our country has become. We've become a consumer country and no longer a producer country. Now, the problem is very stemmed in consequence. Consequence is very important. You have to have consequences for your actions. If you do something bad, you need to pay a price for it. If you do something really wrong, you need to be shown that it was really wrong. And consequences are what show people. It's like the little kid who goes over to the stove and puts his hand on the hot stove and, oh my God, I burned my hand, and starts crying. That shows the kid, don't touch the hot stove. But now these consequences are being taken away as we pad society with all this woke nonsense. Everybody's going to be pampered. You cannot speak ill to somebody else. You cannot say something to somebody else that you know, you can't correct their bad behavior. Because if you correct their bad behavior, you're going to make them feel bad. Too bad. If they're doing something really bad, really horrible, then they need to be told that they're doing something very bad, very horrible. I was just watching Louder with Crowder this morning, and they were showing the guest host, and I can't remember his name offhand, but they were showing how these girls on TikTok are now, they're glorifying getting abortions. They're glorifying sleeping with as many people as possible, and they call it a body count, and they proudly display this on TikTok. There's one girl, she's barely 22, 23 years old. She's already slept with over 200 people. 200 people. Now, when did she start? And this has no consequence. In fact, they're being so protected that you don't dare say anything bad about that behavior, because it's considered stunning and brave. It's considered stunning and brave to brag about an abortion, about killing a baby. It's considered stunning and brave to brag about how many people you've slept with. It's stupid. What has happened to our society that we're doing this? I mean, not even in the wettest dreams of the late 60s people could ever imagine a world like this. I mean, there was free love and stuff like that back then, yeah, but then we realized that there's consequences of all of that. When things, you know, like diseases started to come in. And so now, people are at it again. And maybe it's a destructive habit of humanity. Maybe we're doing it on purpose. Maybe we're doing it on purpose to destroy ourselves or to equalize. I have no idea. And I'm not going to tell you I have an idea, because I don't. It's just it's a mystifying to me. And I probably won't live to see this disaster that's incoming. And there is a disaster that's incoming. And it's because people have no consequence. No consequence breeds things like narcissism and nasty behavior. No consequence is a narcissist's fever dream, wet dream, sick fantasy. They love not having consequences, because then they can do whatever they want to whoever they want and no one will ever question them. That's the idea. And is it a surprise that most serial killers, in fact, nearly all serial killers, are narcissists? Because they don't see people like normal people do. They see people as objects. And that is the direction we're going in, sadly. So when you comment on anything that these narcissists, are saying, whether it be a channel owner or a commenter themselves, you're going to get attacked by not only that person, but by all their friends. Their little narcissistic friends and enablers. And or you'll just get completely flat out ignored and shunned from society, as I have been by several guitar communities, because I didn't agree with the narcissism that was happening inside of those guitar communities. And I didn't agree with the lies and the misinformation being told to beginners by these supposedly seasoned musicians who are just basically peddlers of expensive goods. So, where's this all going? Like I said, I think we're headed for a big disaster. And it's something of our own design. And it's our own fault that this is happening. Because not enough people are actually saying anything. Not enough people are actually standing up to these people. I mean, you've got this clown Fauci who's out there talking about, oh, you need to wear 3 or 4 masks. And then he keeps changing his tune and doing the other thing. Oh, you got to do this or you got to do that. And then they'll change it to something else. It's like a huge gaslighting that's happening on the entire population. Gaslighting is trying to make someone else think they're crazy. That's what gaslighting is. And that's what it is. They keep changing the rules. It's just like, oh, you got to do this. No, wait a minute. You got to do that. No, wait a minute. You got to do this. Here, get the vaccine. Okay, after you get the vaccine, you still got to wear the mask. Why do I got to wear the mask if I have the vaccine? Because. It's getting ridiculous. I'm not telling anybody what they should do. Get a vaccine. Don't get a vaccine, because I'm halfway through it. I've already got my first one, and I'm going to get my second one. And I don't want to push that too much on here. And I don't want to talk about that too much on here, because YouTube will cut this video down and block it and throw a strike at me, because YouTube is becoming the thought police, sadly, with a lot of channels and a lot of things. And that's also causing problems, because if we don't have a common place where we can talk, because nobody goes out anymore, everybody's nose is buried in their phones, and if they do go out, their noses are still buried in their phones. So there isn't a place where everybody can sit and talk, and especially now that we've all been scared of each other's breathing. So, yeah, we're headed for a disaster. And if we don't change course, it's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. If we don't stop babying people and letting woke culture run amok, we're done. We are done as a country. And I don't know how bad it is in other countries, but in this country, in America, and in Canada, too, the wokeness is out of control. It's ridiculous. And it's sitting with a narcissistic arrogance. Like, oh, well, hey, we know everything, so you can't tell us any different. We're not going to have the strength to defend ourselves against an outside aggressor. Say somebody comes in and tries to take over the country. That's it. Who's going to defend us? Are we going to defend ourselves? I can't stand that guy. He's aiming a gun at me and hurting my feelings. Come on. This is not what we need. This is very, very, very bad. And we won't have the unity to survive, because we're being divided every single day. Political parties, all this other crazy crap that's going on. And I try to avoid the politics stuff on this channel very often. And I'm sick of politics. I'm sick of politicians, and I'm sick of them having so much sway over all of our lives lately. But it is what it is, and it's because people are letting it run amok. There's no consequence. You see, the importance of consequence. When you give somebody no consequences for their actions, you're creating a monster. And that's what's happening with our society. And who knows? Maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel, as far as maybe the incoming disaster too. That was a nice Freudian slip. But the incoming disaster will finally wake people up. For real. Not woke culture, but really woken, as in, what the hell are we doing to ourselves? And where are we going with all of this? And we really need to straighten up and fly right. And I have children. I also have grandchildren. And honestly, I worry about their futures. It's like, what's going to happen to them? You know, what world is my grandchildren going to be growing up in? Are they going to be still, is there still going to be a United States? Is it still going to be here? You know, when they're in their 20s, 30s? What's going to happen to their kids? If we don't correct this course we're on, this stupid clown world course we're on, because that's what all the clowns are about on the thing you see there. It's because this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous what we're doing to our own society. It's ridiculous what we're allowing to go on. And it's ridiculous how self-centered people are being allowed to just run amok without anybody saying a word. I can understand if you're angry. I can understand if you're upset about your life. I can understand that. But don't you dare lose your sense of respect for other people. Because the minute you do that, then you become like them. And that's the sad part about it. So if we don't correct the course, I don't know where we're going to go. Maybe we need a disaster. Maybe humanity needs a reset every so often. We'll see. Sorry this video went on so long, but this is just something that I think about every single day. You know, I don't have much time left in my own life, but I worry about my kids and my grandkids. And what are they going to have? What are they going to grow up in when I'm gone? When you're gone? Who knows? But we're going to have to find out. Somebody's going to have to do something. Things are going to have to change. We're going to need to about face real freaking quick. Otherwise, we're screwed. Have a good day.